What's good? What's good? Welcome to everybody tuning in for this quick little segment. I'm Charles Champion, known as Brother Jody from the streets, and to those from my section. I'm co-founder of 50 Rags Outreach, and I got here with me my right-hand man, the visionary and founder of 50 Rags Outreach, Alphonso, also known as Fat Cuz from the streets and those from this section. And we got our Director of Operations, Jessica Justice. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of our listeners have probably been hearing about the reports that's been going on in our juvenile institution at Green Hill. When I seen the segment this morning, I was particularly struck. It struck a chord with me, and particularly because it was like feeling like a deja vu, because I was just up at Green Hill and the same things that was going on 20 years ago, it's still the same things that's going on now. And when I seen the segment, that's how it made me feel. What you think about it when you heard about it, Fonz?
Oh, man, when you were telling me that, I tapped in later on today, and I tapped in and I checked that out, man. It was really hard pressing on me because I saw a man that was working in that facility that wanted to do better things in his life, but he was a few amongst the many because they were saying, the staff was bringing in drugs into the institution, and young men that was getting overdoses of fentanyl and things like that we see every day on the television. And that was heart-wrenching for me because I have my own son that's 18 years old that the juvenile system, the local juvenile system, he became an adult. So it was kind of heartaching in the work that we do, along with the work that we do, is we're trying to help our inner city youth, but we're in prison helping inner city young men that become old men because they're still misguided because they didn't get the help that they needed when they was in those institutions, as you was once in those institutions, as we was talking about this morning. So I thought, man, why not have a recent conversation about what's going on and create some different content and try to pull some people in that want to, be a part of doing the work that we're trying to do with our hands tied. And what about you, Jess? When you saw that?
I seen a little bit last night, and I watched a couple different segments today. And one thing that really hit me is the guy was talking about the kids, and they're 18 to 24 years old at Green Hill, going up, feeling comfortable enough to go up to the staff and ask them, "Hey, can you bring me in something? I'll make it worth your while." So you know what I mean? So you see something like that, or you hear about something like that, and you think like, okay, how many of these staff are underpaid and are biting on that? Because they could probably, come up off of that, make some money. You know what I mean? How many of them are biting with how comfortable they feel being able to go up to a staff and just ask them? And dude was like, "Nah, I ain't doing that." And how many of them actually have the wherewithal to say, "No, I'm not going to do that." You know what I mean?
Right. And that's funny that you said that because after we had watched this segment today, I was, the transition from Green Hill to prison is every day to school to prison pipeline, from reform school to the prison pipeline every day. So every Monday, sometimes some people coming from Green Hill to the institution. So I strategically placed myself this afternoon at dinner time to go to dinner with this young man that just came off the chain from Green Hill. He came off the chain a couple weeks ago, and he just disappeared for another couple weeks. And he just came back a week later. And I said, "Man, what's been going on with you? How you doing? How you adjusting, from the institution to prison?" So I walked the main line with him tonight. He's like, I went back. I said, "How was Green Hill?" Because I saw Green Hill on the news. What was your thoughts about it? He was just there when all these things were taking place. He said, "Yeah, I sent back to get charged for a cell phone." He said, "It's crazy that I get charged for a cell phone. It's kind of like entrapment. The staff brings all these type of things. They bring the drugs in. They bring the phones in. But these juveniles, they're getting charged for the stuff, but the staff keeps coming every day because it's their job. They come to do the 8-hour circle." And it's like he's going back to prison to get charged, leaving prison to get charged for a cell phone he had in the juvenile. And he said, "Man, I'm trying to give some hope to my young partners because I got 23 years in prison. And when you got these young men that no hope, what do they have to hope in? And everything that they're into is what they into the juvenile system at Green Hill. They was into in the streets. All their homies is locked up with them. There's drugs in there with them. There's phones in there with them. Everything's the same. Ain't nothing really changed because
just the location.
Just the location. And the same thing happens in prison every day. You know what I'm saying? It's like something has to change. And you were saying there have to be some organization or some real men of integrity to go into those places that look like those young men that come from those inner cities. But those places are so far out, it's hard to get inner city men that want to go out there and redeem those that they relate to, which is who they kin to.
Yeah, that was my experience right there. You know what I'm saying? Like when I came through Green Hill over 20 years ago, it was just like being on the streets. It wasn't really nothing different from between when I was on the streets with the homies and when I was locked up. Because the same thing that was going on in the streets was going on in the institution. It was just, we just changed locations. We were still getting high. We were still, you know what I'm saying, macking on the females. We were still gangbanging. We were still doing all the same stuff. So when I was there, like, I really didn't learn nothing, which at the same time led me to, you know what I'm saying, continue down the path that I was on. The rehabilitative programs that they talking about don't really meet the needs or address the needs. Like I was telling Fonz earlier today, I was like, man, out of the whole time I was there, I got in a gang of fights, you know what I'm saying, gang banging, you know what I'm saying, got still getting high, all the stuff. But I remember one staff there though. And the one staff that I remember to do, it was a dude named Sean. He was he was a blood cat from ESP. He was coming up in there and he was coming to holler at gang members. That's what he was doing. Bald-headed, light-skinned, buff cat. And, you know what I'm saying, because he was from the streets, when he would sit down and holler at us, you know what I'm saying, he kind of came with that OG, you know, older homie, big brother kind of persona, and we would really kind of listen to him. And so he would get us all together, man, and be like, you know what I'm saying, hey, listen, look, this is what you got waiting for you, this and that, this and that. Now, while at the same time we were still too young to be able to take heed to the lessons, we still had some bumping, we still had to bump in our heads to do. But at the same time, a lot of the stuff that he was telling us, when I got ready to switch lanes and start doing something different with my life, his words is what I remember because I can relate to him. He understood where I come from. You know what I mean? And so if there would have been more cats like him up in there, they could have had a better impact. He was just one man. If they had like 5 of them, 5 of Sean's who can really get one-on-one with cats and really, you know what I'm saying, wrangle everybody in and really sit them down at that vulnerable stage and that vulnerable age to where, you know what I'm saying, cats is still real impressionable, we might have been able to make a lot of difference. So I hear what you're saying too, that.
And that was my next point is like, well, what is DCYF doing wrong? I mean, are they not being able to reach the kids because of the staff members that they have, the people that's there? They can't relate to the students or the kids there. So, you know, the kids aren't listening to them. Are they not getting paid enough? Are they not bringing enough organizations in that have, you know, men or women with real lived experience that can reach the youth? Like, what are they doing wrong and how do they fix it?
I think that, I think that it's probably it's a combination of all of those things. Like you got these institutions, for example, that's out here in these rural areas, hella far away. You know what I mean? And you talking about trying to address traumas and issues and mentalities that these youth from inner cities have. But who do you got as far as staff member out there trying to do that? You know what I'm saying? You got cats that you got staff member that ain't even from where we from or familiar with the culture or the language or anything, trying to help individuals that come from the inner cities. You know what I mean? That was my experience. I don't know if much has changed in that regard, but that was my experience. And that's why I only remember Sean, because he was the one cat that was up there that come from where we come from and knew how to relate to what we, you know what I'm saying, relate to us. And so when I began my transition, you know, and changing my path and doing something better with my life, it's his words, the ones that I remember the most. But cats ain't willing to come all the way from Seattle, come all the way from Tacoma. You know what I'm saying? It take real committed, passionate individuals that are willing to do that. So I think that maybe if, you know what I'm saying, there could be more incentives for individuals from the inner cities to come out there and try to make an impact and a difference, then you can probably see that a little bit.
The other thing that I saw on the news, sorry, Fonz, was that.
No, go ahead. I want to hear.
Was that, you know, one of the things that they thought, I think it was an article. I don't think I was actually, you know, on the news, but it was on something that I read that they suspected that some of the mentors were the ones bringing in the drugs. Now, how does that affect other organizations, other, you know, and organizations that have integrity that are actually going in there to try to make a difference. How does that affect if if that is true, organizations
That
going in
affects the
there?
integrity.
How does
That's
that
the integrity
affect?
of those men.
Right. How does
It
it affect?
affects it because they give the black eye to people that really want to cultivate change in their young men's lives. Because really, there's really no blueprint to help an at-risk youth until you have been an at-risk youth, and then you have a heart to help the next person. Man's greatest work and servitude in life is to serve what he's been affected by and what he's been affected from. You got to feel like people that I really been affected by this lifestyle. I really want to help this young man, and it takes a heart for the people to do that. And you got men that's going into these juveniles, taking advantage of these juveniles. They become putting another hat on the pressure on because it's beneficial to them. So I think they give the organizations that want to come in there, they give them a black eye.
I do know that, you know what I'm saying, there are individuals, you know what I'm saying, that do have that level of integrity going in there, man. And I think about a couple that come to the top of my mind, you know what I'm saying, like Eddie Purpose, you know what I'm saying, like Faraji. I know that them guys is going up in there with the same heart and passion, but those individuals, you know what I'm saying, they got to be multiplied. They got to be more of them that are, you know what I'm saying, willing to make the sacrifice to go into these institutions, man, and make these changes as far as, you know, it gives it a black eye. That's how it affects it, because now it makes it a little bit harder to discern, you know what I'm saying, those who are genuine from those who are really, you know what I'm saying, after something else. But those who are genuine, though, man, I think that the work really speaks for themselves because, you know, they're separate. I mean, their passion for the work separates them. You know what I mean? Distinguishes them.
And then I saw some guy, he was talking on the news. I can't remember his name, but he was saying that, you know, Green Hill spent a whole bunch of money on these x-ray machines to be able to, or x-ray or, you know, whatever it was.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And they're not even using them. So they spent all this money to install these x-ray machines. So they were going to make things safe, you know, because I've seen that there's been problems with, when I was doing some research, that there's been problems with drugs and contraband at Green Hill for a long time. You know, so they go and spend all this money to prevent this from happening, and they don't even use the machines that they spent all this money for.
Yeah, man, like
they use it on the people that come in there, the families that come in there, but they don't use them with their staffs. That's what I'm hearing.
Right, and you see that with, you know, the Department of Corrections too.
That happens every day.
With COVID. Remember with COVID, you know, they tested every single family member and we had to wear masks and everything, but they didn't even test the staff. I mean, that's just one example, but that's COVID. But think about that with drugs. Think about that with cell phones. Think about that with everything. You know, it's the staff that's bringing it in. It's not outside organizations. It's not family members. It's not, you know, it's not those things. It's the staff. So how do you crack down on that?
Yeah, because it's going to be a benefit to the institution. Because, you know, if we know we're in a fentanyl crisis and they go around even the Department of Corrections as we sit today, they got fentanyl, you know, things in the unit to bring people back to life. That means they know that drugs are coming.
Narcan.
Narcan. You got Narcans in the unit, so they know that it's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely, man. It definitely starts at the head, man. You know what I'm saying? It's where the leadership is at. You know what I mean? You get individuals in the leadership positions, man, that are really, you know what I'm saying, passionate and dedicated about affecting change and ensuring that those who don't follow suit get removed and replaced with those who will. You know what I mean? That's how you kind of see it. So, I mean, one definite way to be able to attack that issue, man, is you got to have somebody that's in the leadership position that's willing to put a foot down. Someone who's not subject to the culture. You know what I mean? Someone who is willing to go against the grain. Someone who's not there to make friends, but to make a difference.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes, man, it's hard. It's hard to change. You know what I'm saying? A working environment, the culture in the working environment. You know what I mean? System, because nobody wants to, you know what I'm saying, be the oddball. Nobody wants to speak up and say something that everybody else might not be, that everybody else is thinking, but nobody else is brave enough or have enough courage to say. You know what I mean? One of the things I'll be saying to cats, man, you got to have courage. You know what I'm saying? It takes courage, man, to affect change. And if you don't have courage and the willingness to be able to stand up and be like, I don't care what you feel about me or what you think about me, this is what's right and this is how we're supposed to move. You know what I mean? And be willing to stand on that.
Yeah, we have drugs. Not probably people do that, but we have drug classes in prison every day. Every day they have a drug and alcohol classes that they send men to have drug and alcohol problems.
What,
but
like
as soon as they finish no, not AA, they have drug and alcohol treatment classes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like inpatient treatment.
Okay.
You know, in prison for people that are transitioning out of prison. But as soon as they finish this class, they're sent a message to come take Suboxone to prepare themselves to go outside. You know what I'm saying? To build up their system for the same drug that they can go out there and take. And it's like, I argue with people, no, but don't go take drugs. You ain't did drugs in 10 years. Why would you get on a Suboxone program if you ain't done drugs in 10 years? You just finished a drug treatment class. You don't need that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But they continue to give them the pharmaceutical kind versus what they're going to get in the streets to build their system up. And I argue with people about that all the time. No, man, you don't need to go. 3 o'clock. Every day at 3 o'clock, they're called to the property to take prescription, a drug.
Right.
And they send them back to the unit at 3:30 for count. But these people haven't done drugs for 2 or 3 years, 2 years, 10 years.
Right.
You know, it don't make no sense. It's hypocrisy.
Yeah, because
you're fighting a drug epidemic, but you're giving them drugs.
Well, yeah,
it's hypocrisy.
Suboxone and like methadone are drugs to help people, you know, get off of drugs. Not people. Not you don't put that on people that are not actively using.
Yeah, but they abuse that and becomes a drug in here.
Yeah, I mean, people can get high off of that if they, you know.
Sure. Yeah, they're putting it in their eyelids in prison.
No way.
That's what they're doing. Yeah, that's what's going on in here.
Oh,
it's serious.
I think about, you know, the time that I did when I was in Green Hill, man, and just the lingering memory that I have when I reflect back on that experience, man, is I'll just keep thinking like, damn, man, I didn't really learn nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's
how long was you out of prison, out of Green Hill before you came to prison, Charles?
Man, I was out just under a year, not even a year. Not even a year, because there was no break.
1 minute left.
There was no break in my behavior. You know what I mean? I was on the streets, you know what I'm saying, gangbanging, hustling, selling dope, all this stuff. I went to the institution and was doing the same thing because the same things was going on there. And I got out and I was doing the same thing.
Yeah, there's no break. There was nothing to get you to wake up and stop.
Was you exposed to anything different besides what you know?
Right.
Yeah, and that was it. And that's, you know what I'm saying, the thing that, hold on, we're going to tap back in.
All right, we'll be right back.
The caller has hung up.
An incarcerated individual at Stafford Creek Correction Center. This call is not private. An incarcerated individual at Stafford Creek Correction Center.
Spree call.
Facility instructions to register this number as a private number.
To accept this free call, press 1. To accept this free, no third-party calls are allowed. Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Yeah.
All
What
right,
I was saying, just yeah, man, just there was no break. You know what I'm saying? And so, just doing the same thing, and I think that stems from a lack of understanding how to be able to connect with the inner city youth.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there has to be, you know, understanding of how to connect with the inner city youth, and that understanding primarily has to come from individuals who are, you know what I'm saying, on that mentorship road, on that mentorship path that comes from that, to be able to help bring that understanding to those who, you know what I'm saying, are operating these facilities.
Right.
And then I think that there has to be some incentive to bring those type of individuals to those rural areas, because a lot of these institutions are in far places. You got Chehalis, you got Centralia. I don't know where Echo Glen is at, but I know they're all far. None of them's, you know what I'm saying? So if you got an individual that, you know what I'm saying, like, dang, I want to go out there and holler at the youth and do this, but that's a 2-hour drive, and then I don't get home till 9 o'clock at night when I'm done, and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So to some degree, it has to be like, you know, there has to be like some type of, you know, incentive-based programming around that to help bring people out there. Because, you know, I was telling Fonz earlier, like, out of everybody there, there's only one person who had a real impact on me. You know what I'm saying? And I go back to that, and it was all because, you know what I'm saying, we can identify with him.
And didn't you say he wasn't even a staff member?
No, he was a staff.
Okay.
Actually, I don't know what his situation was. I think he was just somebody who was coming in and, you know what I'm saying, mentoring.
Right.
Because I don't think he was like a regular staff.
He wasn't
member.
Like a CO or a counselor or something.
Nah, he wasn't a CO or a counselor.
Okay, so
and then I ended up running into him when I got out, and he was on the same stuff. Jody, what's up? What you out here doing? You been staying out the way? You staying out of trouble?
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just out here with my BM right now. We're going to a doctor's appointment. You know what I mean? Like, he was really off that. You know what I mean? And so when I got ready to change my life, you know what I'm saying, those are the things I remember. And so a lot of times, you know, sometimes people be tripping off the fact that you got people pouring into these young men, and it doesn't seem like nothing is happening. You know what I'm saying? It's like planting seeds in the ground.
Right.
But sometimes, man, when you plant seeds in the ground, man, you're not going to see that seed sprout right then and there. There's so many seeds that people poured into our lives that sprouted up 10, 15 years later. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And his seeds sprouted up later. It didn't really... And so it was effective. It wasn't in vain. You know what I'm saying? So even if and that's a part of our model, you know what I'm saying? We understand the process. You know what I'm saying? We got a model that say, you know what I'm saying? We respect the process, trust the process, but don't make an excuse for the process. You know what I mean? And we understand that when we're dealing with individuals, when we're attacking mindsets and conditionings, you know what I'm saying? We understand that it's going to be 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards. That's a part of the process. It comes with that territory, because you're trying to break a mentality. You're trying to break a way of thinking. You're trying to break a conditioning. Right. You know what I mean? And so those conditionings and those mentalities ain't broke overnight. So the individuals that are trying to step into those shoes of trying to be mentors and stuff like that, you can't be faint-hearted. You can't be easily weary. You can't get tired, because you got to understand that, hey, man, sometimes cats don't have to bump their head up against the wall, but just trust the seeds that you're planting in their lives.
Right.
I like what you're saying, because you're talking about, when I hear you saying, bro, it's relatability. And a lot of times these mentors, these navigators, they don't be relatable to them. They don't want to understand the language. They come with this new form of terminology that they learn, the cognitive behavior therapy models and things like that, and they become not relatable to the youth that they're trying to reach. You got to speak to them in their language. So that's what I get what you're saying. This guy that you ran into, he was relatable to you. He spoke your language.
I was going to ask.
He was okay with the... Go ahead.
I was going to ask, when you were at Green Hill, how many of the counselors and people there were Black? How many of them were people that represented, you know, the kids that were there, or was it a bunch of white folks?
Man, Green Hill is what is in it? Chehalis? Centralia, and one of those. I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Chehalis.
Who's out there?
Yeah, because I was gonna say the same thing, like with the prisons out in Aberdeen, right? Same thing. It's a bunch of white folks. And how many?
Yeah,
what does the incarcerated population look like? A bunch of Black folks. You know what I mean?
And that's not. And that's not to say that, you know what I'm saying, white folks can't relate to Black people and what they're coming from. It's just to say that there's very few.
If they live in Aberdeen, I'm sorry to tell you.
Don't.
If they live in Aberdeen, they are not from the city. They didn't grow up around a bunch of Black folks. They cannot relate. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, a lot of times our incarceration becomes their entertainment around here, because they've never been around people like us. Right. And they learn from us more than they can learn. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time that's how it happens. But we can teach them.
And I'm wondering if the ones at Green Hill, they want to be cool. They want to be the cool CO and the cool counselor. And so when the kid comes up to them, hey man, can you bring me? And they're like, okay, shoot, oh yeah. And so then they don't give them any problems because they brought them a cell phone. They brought them some fentanyl. They brought them some weed. That's probably how it
That's
goes.
another thing too. That's another thing that you kind of hitting on too. You know what I mean? That those who are, working in these situations, there needs to be incentive for them as well to be able to turn down those type of advances. Same thing. I mean, it's the same concept with the teachers. You know what I'm saying? Like teachers are being underpaid. You know what I mean? And so there's no real motive and incentive to really try to, go the extra mile. You know what I'm saying, for a lot. You know what I mean? And so, but those are the ones that we should be paying the most. We should be, making sure that they got, they getting paid real good because they're in charge of helping to change around the lives of the young people.
Right. And it's not always somebody with a degree, and they try to put people in, maybe not as a CO, but as the counselors, right? They want to have them with a bachelor's degree and all of that, but they've never, I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them, they get into this because they want to be able to help. They want to be able to do the right thing or whatever, but they don't have that lived experience. And like you said, they've never been around that stuff before. So they get in that place and they're just like, I don't know.
I think that's why our society is moving to a more lived experience and letting men like ourselves become the subject matter experts of what we've been through.
Yeah. Peer counseling is
that's what it's about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Becoming a huge thing. Peer mentorship and all that.
That's why we created an organization like this to help people that we can once relate to.
So now that you're
address our own social problems.
Yeah, you bring
our own social issues.
What we're doing. Why don't you talk a little bit about how Filthy Rags Outreach is working to help the youth? What is Filthy Rags Outreach doing? Let's talk about that.
Well, one of the things that we was probably doing before 2023, the end of 2023, we had one of the former incarcerated brothers that I met here in prison. He was going into the King County Juvenile, trying to connect with the youth, on their level as we've had, to be a heart to respond to those young men as he once was, because he grew up in the juvenile facility in Echo Glen and Green Hill and things like that. So we're just looking for more men like him to go relate to our inner city troubled youth and shorten their learning curve. That's what we're trying to get more men, draw more men to come to be the hands and feet to the organization, because this organization has been started like ground zero in prison, but looking to build a bridge to the community and create a highway from community to in and out of the prison. So as we're doing right now, we're doing a 12-week program with incarcerated fathers, helping incarcerated children close the gaps of their relationship, because there's so much of relationships with the children that are incarcerated, that have incarcerated parents, and fathers that are incarcerated. So right now we're doing a 12-week thing with Ellison coaching and counseling, and having therapists, men talk to therapists, the incarcerated fathers talk to therapists, and also connect the children outside and the parents, if they would like to, with the therapist, so we can close the gaps and reconcile some of the relationships with these broken families, the broken homes that create the prison pipeline situation. So that's some of the things that we're doing right now.
The main thing is that, despite the fact that a lot of cats are doing time, and some of us, been in and out, but at the same time, it don't mean that, we don't love our kids, man. And we recognize that individuals in here, man, once they start, waking up, start realizing that they need to do something different, man, one of the first things that they want to reach for is, repairing a relationship with their kids. And we recognize that was a need, man. So, LG came up with the program to be able to just, let's reconnect, the fathers with their children, because, shoot, I'm struggling to try to maintain a strong relationship with my kids, and I know a gang of other cats in here that are doing the same thing. Yeah, so
my relationship with my children is broken. Yeah, I had my first therapy session today talking about my children. It was a heartache, but it's something I tell them. I get to the root of these issues so I can heal in the process. Because I walk with the wounded, but find myself wounded as well, and disconnected with my children. So that's something that we've got going on. And another thing that we're doing, we work with men every day in here. We have circles of healing, you know what I'm saying, and have conversations. And we expose the false realities of the street and the gang lifestyle that we was once a part of.
Yeah.
So. with people like your help. You know what I'm saying? That directs traffic for us. You know, it's been a blessing to have people like your help to do the things that we're doing tonight. So it's been a blessing to have you, and hopefully people will come and join along with you and work alongside of you. We need experts in the field of service to come support.
Yeah,
We'll build community. We're just a community separated from community, but you know we need people to come work alongside of you and help, because we don't have inner city people, the people that look like us from our communities out here in Aberdeen to help us. You know, we can only give what we have. We're wise enough to know we don't know too much. You know what I'm saying? It's all in the not knowing that we get it, and we're growing in the process together with these men that are doing life with us. So we welcome anybody out there in the community that wants to come be a part of the work that we're doing with Filthy Rags Outreach, which is much needed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, do you have anything else to say, either of you, Charles, Alphonso, anything else about Green Hill or about the work that we're doing with Filthy Rags Outreach?
No.
Yeah, man.
No, we're just going to try to create more content, try to build more conversation, and welcome people to join us in these conversations. We like to have, conversation with our community while we're separated from it. That's what we're hoping for in doing things like this, going live.
Yeah, definitely. And we are looking for people to get involved, people in doing this type of work, that want to learn about Filthy Rags Outreach. Anybody that wants to have a conversation, you're welcome to give me a call. Telephone number 253-250-9687. Our website is filthyregsoutreach.org. You can email us at info@filthyregsoutreach.org.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's about it. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And anybody listening from inside, we're on Securus. You can give me a call and I'll add you to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good evening.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody listening. We will be back with another episode of Filthy Rags Outreach. Y'all have a good night.
Okay.